What's going on, jerk faces? It's your boy Andy, and you're watching Nocturnal Transmissions, brought to you by the Circle of Jerks podcast. It's a conversation you could be having during the day, but having at night. We're back with another week of. We're back for another week of the Nocturnal Transmissions live stream. Um, Tonight we have a special Stallone double feature for our movie review. We will be reviewing Rocky, the very first Rocky, and First Blood. Um, which was later than I think for the re-release it was retitled Rambo First Blood.
Yeah,
But those who know it was originally titled First Blood.
yeah. It's funny because there's a great video on Cinemassacre talking about like chronological. It's like something about chronologically confused and like how movie titles are like sequels and stuff, and it's like what and the whole Rambo series was talked about. It's really hilarious. I think you guys should go check it out.
Right. It's a similar thing with Star Wars because when Star Wars first came out, the very first one it was called Star Wars, and then it was like Star Wars, Empire Strikes Back, Star Wars, um, Return of the Jedi, and it wasn't until Lucas went back and remastered, quote unquote, um, the series that he actually gave the first Star Wars a title, which was Episode 4, A New Hope.
Yeah.
So
So it's both those are great films. I'm looking forward to talking about them.
absolutely. Um, yeah, I guess no introduction needed, but co-piloting this thing with me is always the homeboy Rob.
What's going on, everybody?
Yeah, so we'll have a Stallone double. We're doing a Stallone double feature because again we kind of lost track of the we lost track of the months, and our degenerate month ended a little uh, past the prime, as it were. Um,
As degenerates do.
as degenerates do, right? They never do as they're told. Um, they can't be controlled. They can't be controlled. No matter how hard you try, they can't be controlled. Um, yeah, but you guys benefit in that you get double dose of Sylvester Stallone, which that's never to be,
and,
never something to be
yeah.
complained about.
um, well, I guess because part of the as we do our intro, I think something that we were kind of discussing a little bit because we saw each other this weekend. Um, a movie that we both enjoyed quite a bit, Parasite,
Mm-hmm.
won at the what was it? Did it win Best Picture at the Oscars?
It
Was that
won
what the
four,
thing
I think.
was?
One, oh yeah, I think best screenplay. I do think it won best picture of the year. Um, and then like something for producing Oscar, and I can't remember the other one.
Did it win foreign film Best Foreign Film?
Maybe that was it.
I mean, I would assume so. If it wins Best Picture, I would assume it also win Best Foreign Film.
Right.
That would be kind of a weird thing if it didn't win Best Foreign Film, but it won Best Picture, despite it being a foreign film.
Okay. Okay. Here it is. Yeah. Best picture, best director, best foreign language film, best original screenplay. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. So those are the four Oscars, and then it was also nominated for best production design and then best film editing, which I think is valid, but it doesn't. Um, I think if you won best picture, then who cares? What other awards you really get.
Well, let me tell you, there was a lot of ire. There was both celebration and ire with
Mm-hmm.
with with this one. I know you had like I said, we both loved the film. I
Right. Yeah.
I think
Yes,
that's pretty
let
safe
us
to say.
get it all out, out of the way, so people don't lose their minds. I loved Parasite. I thought it was wonderful. And I'm happy that it won the Oscars and yada yada yada.
And but no, there was a lot of people who, well, you mentioned on Sunday how you felt like, did it really belong winning an Oscar for, because that's usually meant for films, American films.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And I think you brought up an interesting point, because you were not the only one to bring that up. And the a lot of my liberal lefty leaning friends are like, "Oh my god, this is so great." And obviously, like, majority of my friends are Korean.
Uh-huh.
So they're talking about it, how it's like, "Oh, this is great." It's good to see all this stuff, and they're writing blogs and articles about it, and kind of the not in like that they're interesting articles. It's more of this bloviating articles that just makes you want to punch yourself in the face.
Right. It's the
Um,
ones where you need to ask the person. It's like, oh, you need some knee pads.
yeah, yeah. It's like, okay, let's why don't we? It doesn't have anything to do with the movies. It's the
Yeah,
significance.
just
It's
dial it
the
back. Dial it back.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's like,
but
oh, I just I hate it.
like what Robert said, I did take a little umbrage in that, here's, this foreign film that comes and wins like Best Picture in an American award show, like part of, like, that wins an award that's usually reserved for American made films. But for some reason, this film was given like special dispensation to win Best Picture. And I mean, and the Academy, they already give kind of like a nod to foreign films, and that's best foreign language film, and Parasite won that as well, and if it
Deservedly so.
what was that?
Deservedly so.
Deservedly so. But here we have, like, again, uh, we're kind of we're yeah again, like, we're making special dispensation, and so I'm not saying that Parasite didn't deserve to win, or because I thought, in terms of all the movies that I saw last year, that was the best one that I saw. So I
Hands
agree that it
down.
was a really good movie, and it was deserving of an award. But did it deserve an award from an American institution?
I've actually,
I'm willing to debate that. I'm willing to debate that.
I disagreed with you on Sunday. I was thinking, it's like, well, let's. For me, it was like, it was clearly the best film of 2019, hands down. That doesn't mean that there weren't, some of the other films I enjoyed, like Joker, Ford v
Right.
Ferrari, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. Those are all great films too. The Irishman was also really good too. I like that a lot. Um, but to me, this was like hands down better, easily better than them. And but then I got to thinking, it's like, yes, this is an American film award show, but I think, to me, it shows that American filmmakers should be embarrassed of themselves, because nobody is making anything. There's really not a lot of movies, worthy enough to win. And this goes back to our talk about Martin Scorsese's comments and Francis Ford Coppola's comments about, about the whole, like, Marvel stuff, and how, it's not really cinema. No one's really making a lot of great films anymore. A lot of it is remakes, and, you know, shoving wokeness into these remakes, and making, kind of these comic book movies. Not that there's anything wrong with making comic book films, because I mean, they made, billions of dollars, so obviously, people are watching them and making money, and people are
Right.
making
They're
money off of
profitable.
it.
They're profitable. So
Um, But as far as movies go, like that are not comic book films, really a lot of it's just it's not good. There's nothing. There's not a lot of original ideas. No one's really kind of going out of the box, trying something different. And when we have someone from Korea who is a fantastic director, and not only is the movie not kind of put out as we're just going to repurpose it as an American release, kind of like how Ring and Ringu, the Ring was for the Ringu
Right.
back. God, how many? That was 15 years ago now. Jesus.
Yeah, that was early 2000s.
Yeah. It
Right.
wasn't
Or
that
they again, or
they
like
just
the American. I don't know why I'm doing air quotes, but the American version, of Old Boy.
yeah. But it wasn't did that. It was a foreign film that was put out as a wide release in U.S. theaters and did really well. Most of the showing I went to was completely sold out. And but it's like we as Americans should be embarrassed by that. It's
Mm-hmm.
like it took someone from Korea who has a lot of great ideas, a lot of original ideas, puts out a film and he spanks us.
Right. But yeah, that's absolutely correct, 100%. But But then it's also it casts like the I don't know if it'll ever cross Bong Joon-ho's mind, but that I'm curious to know if he ever has that little voice in the back of his head saying like should I have won this, like or did I win this because of a certain political outlook, or
Well, see,
did I
here's
merit
the thing.
this, and then like now, like from now until like the Oscar, the Academy Awards become like this debunked thing. Are recipients of Best Picture gonna be like, am I getting this for my merit, or am I getting this because of my skin color?
I think it's to me, yeah, he was deserving because it's an instant classic. It's really good, but you're right in that I think because I think a lot of the leftists, they see it as like, oh, look at this, it's this movie talking about like, oh, the horribleness. It's kind of looking at these. If you look at it from, I'm trying to think of giving myself a leftist brain
Mm-hmm.
and seeing it as like, oh, these rich people are
Well, don't hurt
terrible,
yourself.
they're awful. I know, I nearly had a stroke doing that, but
Yeah, don't hurt yourself. Don't hurt yourself.
you see this film as like, oh, these horrible rich people, and like, yeah, it was good that these people were, essentially being parasites off them. But I see my thought of the film is actually there as kind of dark as it is. I kind of feel like there's somewhat of a positive message in there too, right? Because we're put in the seat of this family who it's like, yeah, they're kind of fairly low on the um, you know
Yeah,
they're kind of like on the bottom
socioeconomic
rung of
hierarchy.
society. Yeah, they're not really well off. They're kind of on the bottom rung of society, and oh yeah, it's awful. But then they encounter someone that's way worse off than they are, and all of a sudden they become rich, and it's like it's and based off of even what the director was saying, it's like class is all relative. It's even like, and just because these people were they're seemingly poor, they encountered someone that was even poorer and worse off than they are, and they actually become rich. And so I think it's all about the perspective and knowing that there's always people that are going to be you know with more money, and there's always going to be people with less money. You're not And I think it's more of like, be grateful for what you do have, because someone always does have it worse.
Right. Yeah. I mean, regardless of the message of the movie, it's still put, the I don't as great as as great and happy as I am for the director. I just think that there's going to be a pall on this award. Um,
Yeah.
it's there's going to be there's going to be invisible asterisks, but everyone knows that it's there. It's like, did this film win on its merits, or did it get shoehorned in because of skin, because of race?
Well,
And
a lot,
I think
you
that's a
could say
horrible
that for the
thing.
last, you could almost say that for the last, 15, 20 years, there is kind of like a lot of asterisks, when it comes to, the Oscars, because it's all about like, was this actually a good film? Because,
Right. I
there's
mean,
not a
well,
lot of films that have won Best Picture that I've ever seen.
right. I mean, well, with the
Or
only,
would I?
like, because like the thing with Black Panther is like, at least I could accept Black Panther, but because it was an American-made film. It falls within the jurisdictional boundaries of the Academy Award, or like the Film and Television Academy. Uh, you know,
No.
I would ask, if they had won, I would have liked to ask, the cast and everyone involved in it. It's like, did you really think that you deserve to win Best Picture? And like really kind of grill them on the point. Grill them on the point where it's like, do you really think that you deserve? I mean, like, think about it, honestly. Like, point to whatever other film was nominated that year. Are you saying that your film is better than this film? Or I mean,
Right.
or stack it against like a classic one like Godfather. So are you saying that your film is as good as Godfather?
There's a lot of films that are not as good as Godfather.
Right? I mean, because there has to be some objective measure to which we can put to subjective things. Because I
I just feel
mean, what
like
was
as
that? That was that
Americans,
one year where there's like movies that like no one has heard about, or they were very small release, but yet they were still granted, they're given the nod at least. I don't even remember who won. There was like that one where it was like a lot of gay movies, and I'm not talking
yeah,
about them being lame or not good, but like literally like gay movies. Like one about like one about a freaking pedophile, because the movie dealt with like a kind of May December relationship between two men, or basically grooming. It was basically a movie about grooming.
yeah.
So
Glad,
yeah,
glad I didn't watch that.
I didn't watch it either, but I mean for some reason, but I know about it because I think that was like the last time I like even kind of like checked what was going on during the Oscars.
Uh, uh,
And so yeah, it's
yeah,
like
I haven't watched the Oscars in a long time.
yeah. But again, it's the one of the year's worst, or the Oscars' worst performance to date. It went from like last year it was like at 29 million, and this year was like 24 million viewers.
I think it's gonna go down every year until Hollywood figures it out, but they're
Pretty
never
much
gonna
like, but
figure it
then
out.
yeah, I think yeah, I forget where I saw this, but there was like a tracker, and like the last time it did any good was in the early 2000s with 40 million viewers.
Yep,
So
that's
yeah,
probably about the
so
last time I watched.
yeah, I think like in 2000 it was 2000 there was like 40 million viewers. And 20 years later they're down to like 24 million or 24 million viewers.
um,
So again,
Yeah,
I feel a certain way about this. Um, not, I mean, I'm not trying to take away, the artistry or the skill that Bong Joon-ho brought to this movie. Again, I love this movie. It was great. I just don't think that it. I don't think it was the place. Uh, I don't think it was the place of the American, Academy of Film and Television, yada yada yada, to bestow this validation on them. I get it.
weren't
America
you
has like the
happy,
biggest.
Korean?
We have the biggest, movie production industry in the world. But
Weren't you happy?
we already give an award for films that are outside of the United States. And in that and Parasite won that too.
Yeah, it's like, but aren't you happy? Koreans are being represented and celebrated.
Oh, interestingly enough, I just to fill you guys in, I had an interview today. I had a job interview or this follow up interview today, and the employer congratulated me. Guess why?
That's fucking hilarious.
Yes, it is. It is very hilarious. But yeah, if you guys can figure it out, he congratulated me on Bong Joon-ho's win for Best Picture and yada yada yada. And I'm just like, yeah, great. And I literally that's how that's how I literally responded. I was like, yeah, great. Because it's like because he won, that necessarily means I won, and
Well, that's the leftist thought, is that what, once we have that representation and get all those white people out of movies, and we have all this representation, then you can succeed,
right. But it was
because he succeeded, you succeeded, right?
exactly right.
Dumbest,
Exactly, and that
most.
and that's why I hate the idea of representation, and you need to see someone before you can think you can even do something, or you need someone to do it before you can do it. It's just like that's just so fucking retarded.
Most illogical.
But yeah, I mean, other than
See,
that,
now you can be a director because a Korean director won. You had no idea that you could do it until now.
right? Yeah, I know. Like, it's not as though I became my own representation and started a YouTube channel and started a podcast and a live stream. So I can be my own goddamn representation. No, no, no. First, Bong Joon-ho had to win the Oscars, and then I had to start this up. Whoops.
Exactly.
Sometimes, yeah, 'cause sometimes you just have to be your own representation, and you have to find your own way. I'll probably never be in movies, but I could at least do this and be my own representation. 'Cause yeah, you
It's
could,
it just
I could, I'm a Korean person, but that doesn't make all successes of Koreans my successes. Nor does it
it's
make
just
all their failures my failures.
yeah. It's the most ridiculous logic. It's really it's just a soft form of bigotry.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly what it is. It's yeah. I think the quote is attributed to, funny enough, George W. Bush, but the soft bigotry of low expectations.
It really is.
All right. Well, yeah. let's start off with one of the movies for the review tonight, and so let's start off with Rocky.
Let's do it.
If we're gonna do chronological order, that'd be where to start. All right, so quick synopsis for y'all. Yeah. All right. Okay, Rocky Balboa, a small-time boxer from working-class Philadelphia, is arbitrarily chosen to take on a reigning world heavyweight champion, Apollo Creed, when the undefeated fighter's scheduled opponent is injured. While training with feisty former bantamweight contender Mickey Goodmill, Rocky tentatively begins a relationship with Adrian, the wallflower sister of his meatpacker pal, Paulie.
Yeah. So I love the Rocky series, all of them. All even Rocky 5. Yeah. uh, as shitty as Rocky 5 is, I still love it. Um, Even what was it, Rocky Balboa? It was technically Rocky 6. Why they didn't name it Rocky 6, I have no idea, but I like that one too. But the original Rocky, which was what came out in '76, I believe.
Yeah,
It was late
76.
'70s. Yeah, '76. The reason I love this one so much is because of all of the Rocky films, it's the most pure part. Because this was Sylvester Stallone's. It was almost like his own personal story. It was his soul that was poured out into the screenplay, because he is the writer of Rocky, and obviously it's a star as well. Um, but it's just it's such a great story, and you have a guy that essentially is a nobody, kind of a little bit of a thug, if you will, because he's kind of doing some collection for a low level mob boss in Philadelphia, and yeah, he does a little bit of boxing on the side, and uh, you know it's a guy that it wasn't about necessarily winning a heavyweight title, because it was that it was kind of dumb luck that he even got that chance. Uh, and when he did get the chance, so his goal wasn't like, oh, I'm gonna win. It was all about like his goal was just going the distance and showing that he did belong there. And because unlike a lot of these other sports films or that have come on after Rocky, it wasn't Rocky didn't win that fight.
Right.
It didn't come out with him as the champ. But it was him going toe to toe with Apollo Creed, and although he didn't win, it's like, and he's getting mobbed by the reporters and all that stuff. And he's like, I don't care about all this stuff. All he cared about was that he went to the distance, and that he wanted to celebrate that fact with Adrian, which is his girlfriend. And I don't know, I love that about the film.
Right. Absolutely. I agree with you that the first Rocky is very pure. Before like the studios really got their grubby little fingers on it, and kind of injected it with more like bigger budget, and um, kind of the polish that comes with that, or the polish that came with the later installments of the Rocky franchise. Um, but yeah, so for the same reasons that you mentioned, that's I enjoyed it as well.
Um, but where because now unlike a lot of the cinematic archaeology that comes from the Rocky series,
Mm-hmm.
comes from from the later installments. Really,
Mm-hmm.
I can't really think of many like scenes that have been used from the original Rocky and like parodied and used in other things. I mean, maybe outside of like some of the theme songs, like the da 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 da, or the or him doing the run up to the what was it, the Philadelphia courthouse? And,
The
and the,
like the art museum. It was the art museum
yeah, oh, it was the art
in
museum, yeah.
Philadelphia. Yeah, Philadelphia Art Museum.
And it's like he does kind of the pumps his fist once he uh reaches the end of that.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I mean, I think they had a statue of Sylvester Stallone there for a little while. Uh,
Right. Well,
the only
yeah,
thing
for
I
Rocky 3, they introduced a statue, and then I think after filming, the city of Philadelphia, bought
kept
it
it
or
for a long
something,
time.
and then themselves installed it somewhere on the grounds of the museum, the Museum of Art.
The only thing I can remember now, I don't know if this is what he was attempting to do, but the only time I remember, like that kind of the kind of pumping in your fist like that. I remember there was a time where Yasiel Puig from the Dodgers he had like a walk off home run or a really big home run in a game,
Mm-hmm.
and just went boom, just like not he did the Rocky,
Mm-hmm.
because he knew it was gone. Everyone in the stadium did. And so there was like one of those moments, but outside of that, because I know that run that Rocky does in that film is a lot of people. I think there's like I want to say like there's a yearly run that people do, like kind of they do that run.
Yeah, yeah.
Uh,
The what is it? When he's running through the street market, and he's like, and like the vendors are like tossing him fruit and stuff. It's like, yeah, you go rock
yeah.
and stuff like that. Yeah, I
Go
wouldn't be surprised.
Rocky!
I think the only other, I guess, the cinematic archaeology in this is definitely the workout montage scene. Uh,
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that's true.
yeah, because there's the one where like early in the morning he cracks eggs into a glass and just chugs it. There's a lot of there. I mean, even TV shows. The one most prominent in my mind right now is Fresh Prince of Bel Air, which the character also is from Philadelphia, and in one of the seasons he goes, the character of Will goes back to face one of his bullies, and like he starts training like Rocky style, and then like they do a scene where like he chugs raw eggs and then like immediately splits it back out because it's gross, um, and
It
then
is.
yeah, and then yeah, and then yeah, and in Fresh Prince they do like an entire parody of like the whole training montage where like Will like runs down that same street where the fruit vendors or whatever are, and like someone tosses him one, and then all of a sudden they all like start throwing fruit at him because he is kind of viewed as a coward um, by the
Right.
locals. Um, the other scene that I believe I have seen in other films, or at least one other film, is the cutscene where during the fight with Apollo Creed, his eyes get one of his eyes gets swollen over because it's all bruised up, and it's like, oh, you gotta cut me, I can't see anything, you gotta cut me, and then they cut the welt and allow the blood to drain. And a similar scene that happens is in Zoolander when they have the walk off, and Hansel's like, "I can't see up there." He's like, "You gotta cut me." And then, like his corner guy, he like cuts his eyelashes, and he like winces in pain. He's like, "Ah!"
Yeah, that's right. It's over, Rock. I know it's over. Just give me something to drink.
Oh
you know.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
um, but no, I just really like. I love this film. It's the characters have like their flaws. I mean, you have Paulie, who's just he's a drunk. You
It's
have
weird because
Adrian, who's
Polly was probably the most unlikable character in that movie.
oh yeah, he's awful.
Yeah. Just
Um,
like the way he's like, trying to, he keeps pestering Rock to introduce him to like that loan shark guy because he's unsatisfied with his, his meatpacking job and how like, he's, he, and then when Rocky gets the chance to fight Apollo Creed, keeps like asking him for a job, and then the way he treats his sister is just, Paulie's like the
really
most
just
unlikable person in that entire movie.
he's just like I said, it's a lot of it has to do with his alcoholism.
Mm-hmm.
It's I think it's like he was a former I think he was a sailor. It looks like from his picture that he had on there. Like I think he was probably in like the that I would maybe because he's probably what probably in like his 40s or something like that by then. But yeah, he's just a drunken jerk. Uh, Treats his sister like crap,
Mm-hmm.
and even at like the end, like when Rocky's going up to he's at the ring, and the way that Paulie is dressed because he was able to give Paulie some like advertising money for like he had the meatpacking advertisement
Right,
on
right,
his
right, right.
overcoat, and he gave all that money to Paulie, and he dresses like a just like a jerk. He's
Like a
got that
fat,
like giant scar.
like kind of like a pimp, but a
Yeah,
little less
it's not even
flamboyant.
that. It's just like he was like he just put on whatever he thought like looked in his mind like looked classy, like what big shots wear. And it's
Oh,
like I
right,
got
right,
my
right,
big
right, right.
cigar, and like I got my zoot suit, and man, I'm
Yeah,
real cool.
yeah. He got
Um,
like he got like a hooker on his arm or whatever.
yeah. Um, but yeah, then you also have Adrian, who's just like really probably the reason why she's probably so quiet and shy is because of how badly like she's the quieter that she is, like she's probably at least definitely verbally abused by Polly. So
Mm-hmm.
the quieter that she is, she doesn't get noticed as much. So it's a lot less. It caused her to be a lot less a lot less trouble at home. And so, you have Rocky, who's always trying, hey, yo, Adrian, it's kind of doing his thing. And
Yeah, I mean, I think that's one of the things I like most about Rocky. Uh, he was persistent. Um, even with Adrian, he's every day he would go into that pet shop that she was working at, and even though she really didn't give him no never mind. Um, he just constantly was spitting game at her, and it's like trying to make her laugh and get her attention. It's just like yes, exactly. And I mean, I think that's what and that's also kind of like translate to his attempt to become a contender and box and like and keep fighting those small match sort of things where he gets ripped off because he in the opening scene he's boxing like another kind of low ranked fighter, and he wins and he gets $60, but then he gets nickel and dime for uh, the corner man, the locker, the towel service, and then all he gets is $40.
yeah. And, the other thing, too, is, with Rocky, he definitely has like a chip on his shoulder a lot. And, sometimes it comes out like where, it's, people batter him, kind of, talk shit about him. And
Mm-hmm.
he explodes sometimes in anger. Like, he never like, uh, goes out and like hurts anybody,
Right, but
but
he
like,
erupts. He erupts. He does erupt. Like when he,
yeah,
when him and the loan shark's driver kind of get into it back and forth. He kind of explodes on him. But I think the most
Same thing with Mickey,
powerful.
and he explodes on Mickey a little bit too.
Right, yeah, I was just about to get to that. I think that was the most powerful scene where because just prior Mickey had his eruption at Rocky, talking about like, oh, the reason why I gave up on you because you gave up on yourself because you had the talent and you could have been a contender but you threw it all away to be some like leg breaker for the mob or whatever, and then
And I think a lot of that also has to do with like, because I think Mickey, cares about, obviously boxing is his passion. And I think there's a lot of like, he was a former boxer, and I think there may have been like missed opportunities in his life too, because, it's like a lot of, he kept getting like overseen because, he didn't have like the right type of management, so he was never, so there was always boxers that were getting noticed and getting all the publicity over him.
mm-hmm,
And so you see a lot of his like anger coming out too.
mm-hmm.
And so, it's really like them, that scene where they kind of, where, Mickey explodes on him. And later on, Mickey comes in to like, kind of like, hey, let me help you. You have this
Right,
chance. Let me
but
help you like get
But
seen.
it did seem to me that Mickey was trying to more come at him like sideways, as opposed to like frontal assault. He was try to outflank, kind of outflank him, come into him at his side, be like, hey man, I have experience, I could help you, as opposed to like coming to him like straight, straightforwardly and like, hey, I know I let you down, um, but
And I think
I
that's
want
why
to help
Rocky
you. I
was so
want to
upset.
and I want to train you. But I
Well, that's
think
why Rocky was so upset.
right, yeah, and then that's when Rocky had his emotional outburst where it was very much like a father son thing where it's like you were never there for me, Dad, and it's like every single time I was around, but you were never there for me, and and again I think it goes to Stallone's writing where he was really putting himself into it. And I think it's it was definitely a story. It was definitely he definitely put like whatever issues he had with his own father into that relationship with between Rocky and Mickey.
Yeah, and I think obviously there was no like dialogue that we heard per se, but like you hear him still, even as Mickey is outside, you still hear Rocky just fucking yelling.
Mm.
Um, and then all as Mickey's almost down the street, Rocky comes like running after him, and it's we don't hear anything, but it's like Rocky knew he was wrong, and like I think he realized like what Mickey was trying to do, and it's like, you know what, Mickey was right. Let's work together, and I like it was kind of like they both needed each other because Mickey still obviously Mickey wanted to be famous. He couldn't do it as a boxer anymore, but Rocky is that boxer, and it's like them as a duo, they can make things happen, and yeah, it was like that. That to me, like that scene where Rocky explodes and at the end where they do reconcile, even though we don't hear anything. I was like, that's such a great scene.
Mm. Absolutely. Um,
Is there anything else?
any thoughts on Apollo Creed's character?
I love Apollo Creed. He's that flamboyant, bombastic, showman. And the
Uh,
thing is, like and I think although it did bother Rocky a little bit, like I think he also knew this, like uh, it was never anything personal that Apollo Creed was doing. Because Apollo knew it's like he's been in the business forever. It even said like before the start of he'd won 48 fights, no, and he hadn't lost. So in a lot of ways, he's and there's always that he had that picture of Rocky had that picture of Rocky Marciano, who
mm,
is famous for growing. I think it was like 50-0
mm-hmm.
or whatever. And just a number of years ago, you had Floyd Mayweather matched that. I think maybe he surpassed it. Like he passed Rocky Marciano, where he 50 wins, no loss. He had no losses.
Yeah.
So in a lot of ways, Apollo's been at the boxing game for a long time, and so he was trying to obviously he's being selfish and wants to promote his fight. He wants everyone to make money, and he knew the kind of like playing up the whole idea. It's like, oh yeah, the Italian stallion, that's perfect. We'll go off that. Like we have the American, and it's all about like the American dream, and all in kind of just playing off all the stuff, all the heartstrings that people have, and the things that are going to get people to watch. And he was thinking it was more, maybe he didn't take it quite as seriously, the fight quite as seriously as he should have, and he nearly lost the fight because of that. He obviously learned it during the fight, where it's like, even his manager's like, dude, this guy, like, he's not going to stop. He trained his ass off, because he didn't think of this as just a show for the people. It was like he's taking this fight seriously. So should you. And
right, and that's interesting parallel to the real world. It's it kind of reminded me of the whole like beef between Conor McGregor and Khabib, because a lot of times when Conor McGregor is like kind of bloviating and being braggadocious and bombastic, it's just him being a showman, and he's trying to draw as much attention to the fight as possible. But Khabib, on the other hand, he takes fighting very seriously. He's practically a monk, and he takes every fight that he's a part of very seriously. Like he's going into battle, like literal battle. Like
right.
he sees the other opponent not just as an opponent but as his enemy. Right? Like, and he has to like hate him. And that's like a lot of where Conor and Khabib kind of rub each other the wrong way. Even though they do really hate each other. But it's just like for Conor, he can separate it. It's like, oh, I'm the showman. This is just from I'm just acting this way so I can get as many eyes on this fight as possible, so I can make as much money as possible. Whereas Khabib is like, this is a matter of honor, principle. I'm going to show you. I'm going to show you my guts. I'm going to show you what I'm made of, and and I'm going to prevail because I am better than you. And and then in Rocky, that's what kind of was happening, because like Apollo thought this was just going to be like some exhibition fight, and it's like no real stakes. But for Rocky, this was like, this is my chance, and I'm going to take it.
Like I said, I'm going to go the distance. But I love Apollo Creed. I love the showmanship, just dickbaggery that he had. Now I will say though, I did love his entrance in Rocky IV better than in this one.
Right, with James Brown
and James Brown coming to America, going. It just it was great. But this one was pretty good too. He's got he's coming out like he's George Washington, and
right, crossing the Delaware. He's got Lady Liberty. And then after he gets into the ring, he transitions, and he puts on the spangled hat, and he becomes Uncle Sam.
I want you. Yes, it's great.
Yeah. I don't think Apollo gets as much characterization as the other characters, but I think it does. I think it does get rectified in Rocky 2, where we get a little bit more. We get a little bit more depth with Apollo.
Well, we get a lot more depth in him in the next 3 films, because he's in 2, 3, and 4.
Right. Right.
And obviously, like, that friendship that rivalry slash friendship
Well,
carries
it's like yeah,
through
it's the
next
rivalry that becomes
generation.
a friendship. Um,
Yeah,
and yeah, especially like in three, where he then trains Rocky. That's beautiful because I'm a sucker for training montages.
oh
Um,
yeah,
and that I think in Rocky Three is one of the best training montages. And then also the greatest like kind of like theme songs too. Eye of the Tiger.
yeah.
But yeah, I mean we'll get to Rocky Three sometime down the line. Um,
We might do a Rocky month.
maybe we might. I mean we could. There's enough movies. Literally, I mean yeah, because they go all the way to Rocky Balboa. And I mean if we're not including like the Creed movies.
I wasn't thinking about doing the Creed films, but yeah, I mean those are technically part of the same. They're in the same universe.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean that's all I got to say about Rocky. Any final thoughts?
No, no, that those are my thoughts on the film. I think if you've not seen it, you got to rectify it. It's a good film. It's like I said, it's the most pure part of all the Rocky films, and I love it.
All right, time to give our rating. Why don't you start us off?
This is a 4 stars for me. I liked all the characters. They're all flawed in their own way, but you see a lot of character development as the movie progresses. Um, it's not about like, oh, I hate this character. Like, I just want and like you got to get rid. There's no like, no, it's not like even like a revenge story. It's not about there's no nothing like that. But it's about, like I said, it's kind of like the American dream, the American story. Coming from nothing, getting kind of the dumb luck. You get a chance and you take it and you go the distance. It's and you and all of a sudden you become something.
Okay. I'm gonna go against you a little bit, and I'm gonna give this a 3.5. Not to say I didn't
Okay.
enjoy it.
How dare you?
How dare you? Um, no. Yeah, just a 3.5. Just because I know this is like the initial movie out of the in the franchise, and I might be it might be overly harsh, compared slightly comparing it to the others, but um, yeah, I think there's like a few things that technically that could have been better, like a little bit better editing or and also like the part that you referenced, like when they reconcile. Maybe I missed it, but I don't remember them reconciling, which made it a little jarring for me to when when I see Rocky training in Mickey's gym, and then he comes over and is helping him. I don't know if that was like I don't know if that I missed it or maybe that was a weird editing thing, but I don't remember them like reconciling.
You didn't see that part of the film?
No, I mean I watched the film. I watched the part where he's like screaming and yelling at Mickey, but I just see Mickey leaving, but I don't see them like reconciling.
Because Rocky runs after him at the end of that as Mickey's like because you see him walking down the street and Rocky runs up after him and like he's like he like I said, you don't hear the dialogue, but he apologizes to Mickey, shakes his hand, puts his arm around him and it's like it's kind of the idea of let's do this, let's work together. Um,
Oh,
I don't maybe I watched a different version than you. I don't know.
yeah. Well, yeah. That's what I was just about. Just that's what I was just thinking. Is like maybe my version was different than yours. But yeah, I don't like. I mean, I was watching the movie and I don't remember a scene where like they reconcile in the manner that you just described.
And
Um,
that to me, like I said, I like that scene so much.
uh, Well, yeah. I guess I'll have to go back. I'm willing to amend and go to a 4, but for right now I'm gonna stick with it with a
Six,
three
three
and a
and a
half.
half. Okay.
So yeah, that's our review of Rocky. Highly recommended. Um, Robert gives it a 4. I give it a 3.5 with the potential to move it back up to a 4. But we'll see.
Maybe we'll have to watch it together, and I'll show you.
Maybe. Yeah, or I'll just go back to the version that I saw and then see if I just missed something. I don't know. All right, let's get into the one and only story for tonight, and it pains Robert because um, it really because like when I because the what we'll be talking about is the kind of current state of Star Trek um, under like the JJ Alex Kurtzman regime, as it were. Um, I don't know if you I could not stand watching Star Trek Discovery, or STD as it's colloquially referred to as by the fans,
Oh yeah.
by the true fans of Star Trek. It's colloquially referred to as STD. It's just the initials of the show, but it's funny how it lines up like that. Um, but yeah, I watched like 3 episodes and it's like I'm out. It was just like, mm. But when CBS announced that it'd be coming out with a Picard show, I was very much interested in it because
I
I
certainly
grew.
was excited.
What was that?
I was certainly excited. It's like, oh, all right,
Right.
maybe they got something going on here.
Exactly, because it was all the member berries, because I grew as much as I enjoy the original series. I was a child of Next Generation, and I grew up with you know Jean-Luc Picard as my Star Trek daddy. So I it's been, in that one episode, I don't remember when, but he was like tortured. He's being tortured by a Cardassian, and like he was like he was basically redoing that scene from 1984 where it's like, oh, there's tell me that there's 5 lights even though there's only like 4 lights. Um,
Which Kardashian? Chloe, Courtney.
oh, but um, uh, what is it? But at the end, it's he's released, um, and defiantly he screams to his torturers like, "There are only 4 lights," and so
That was a
yeah,
great
so
scene.
yeah, so really good, really good television, really good, really strong performance. And so yeah, so understandably, I was very excited to hear about this new Picard show, and and then like as as trailers and teasers were coming out, I was, it got me a little bit more curious. And then, the last, like, I think one of the last ones we actually see, Jonathan Frakes, who played Commander Riker, and Marina Sirtis, who played Counselor Troy, appear in one of the trailers, and it's like, oh wow, yay! Um, and then so all sorts of excited. But then I watched it.
Because we're thinking it's like, oh, it's a continuation of the Next Generation. Awesome. Like,
So we
let's
thought.
do this.
So we thought. Yeah. So we all hoped. Because I mean, I don't know, like because there's a lot of fans who hate what J.J. Abrams did um, with the Star Trek movies. Um,
I wasn't one of them. But yeah, I understand like why.
I I generally like them. I'll admit that I generally liked uh, what he did with them, and I thought it was kind of clever to kind of do like a kind of like a alternate timeline thing, so you can like kind of tell new stories, um,
Yeah,
and not
and
necessarily
I actually thought the last one.
tread on uh, old canon.
Exactly, yeah. And I actually
But
thought the last one they did was the most Star Trek-y of them all.
right, I remember you telling me that. Um, but what was I saying? Right, I generally enjoy the JJ, as it's also colloquially known as the Kelvin timeline. Um, some people was like, "Oh, this isn't Star Trek. It's too much like an action movie." Blah blah blah. It's like I get it. I get it. I get it. I understand all the reasons why you don't consider it Trek. But again, I say like, this is a new timeline. This is a chance for them to tell new stories and not tread on old canon. Yada yada yada. Blah 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 blah
Exactly.
blah. But then Star Trek Picard happened, and god damn, is it a hot mess. It is a hot, stinking pile of God. It's a hot steaming pile, is what it is. I mean, just the writing is horrible. The characters are written terribly, and also, you know, also Patrick Stewart is like letting his full like lefty freak flag fly. Um, um,
Yeah.
as much as I stomped on your soul already, I wanted to, I guess I wanted to save this for the stream so I can get your actual reaction. But in the show, uh, you know, uh, the character of Jean-Luc Picard says that he was never a fan of science fiction.
Whoa. All right. Back up for a second. What did you say again?
In the show, the character of Jean-Luc Picard is talking to another character and says, "I never liked science fiction. I never got it."
What the fuck? Isn't that like a lot of like what he like reads like in the next generation? Like he's always reading like some sort of like science fictiony like type of story or
Well, I
he
mean,
knows
it's
about
like
like
I guess you can consider it genre, but back next gen they did more Shakespeare stuff as opposed to like Jules Verne stuff. So it feels
right.
like,
I mean, yeah.
I mean, if they read like if they were referencing Jules Verne a lot, then yeah, that would make sense. But
But even then it's like what's the point of that like dialogue point at all? That doesn't add or well, it really doesn't even subtract from the characters. It's a useless statement.
pretty much, it's more of like Patrick Stewart coming through a bit because I know Patrick Stewart. I think he admitted that he wasn't really a Star Trek or he wasn't really a science fiction type of person.
And that's fine if Patrick Stewart isn't like that.
Right.
I don't
But again, I
really
think
care.
it's just like it's Patrick Stewart peeking through the mass of Jean-Luc Picard. And it's like, how could
And
you
well,
not? How
it's
could
the
you?
funny
First of all, you have a career in Starfleet.
science fiction.
Not, you have a no. Just speaking in the point of view of Jean-Luc Picard, you have a you always even in the show it in the dialogue it said like, oh, I would look up, as a boy from the Picard Vineyard, I would look up into this, and I always be looking up into the stars and asking, like wondering what if, or what's out there, and that was one, and then that was one of the major spurs for him to join Starfleet to go out there, and I mean, and like, so why wouldn't you be a fan of science fiction?
It's fucking horseshit.
I mean,
It just add.
To be,
You know, of all the other revelations that you gave to me like this past weekend, because I haven't personally seen this, but this just adds more onto the shit sandwich that the show is already.
right, because
And why I'll never watch.
Robert hasn't seen Picard, Star Trek Picard, but I have been watching, and I've been sharing. And then this past Sunday, when we got together to record the Circular Jerks main podcast, we hung out for a little bit afterwards, and I was just telling him about the crap that's been going on in Star Trek Picard, and I think one of the biggest ones was the disrespect that I guess that they are allowing Starfleet officers to have towards their commanding officers. And what I'm referencing is there's a scene, it's a flashback scene, but Captain Picard is trying to rally support for this connects to the JJ timeline where he's trying to rally ships together to go rescue Romulans before the supernova blows up their home planet. Um, and outside waiting for him is one of his subordinates. And at this time, he's an admiral. And as he comes out of his meeting, the subordinate does not refer to him as sir or admiral. She refers to him as JL.
Fucking horseshit. That pisses me off so much.
Yeah, it's like he was like, oh, so what they say, JL? He's like, what they say, JL? Did they approve the mission, JL? What's going on, JL?
In what Star Trek episode of any consequence or Star Trek movie of consequence would they show just the sheer disrespect to not only commanding officer but like to like just obviously if like let's say like they were both admirals, right? Even then, no one of even of equal standing would just go like kind of this stupid nickname JL. No, it's even though that even in like the Next Generation, when there's a familiarity between what's her face, the doctor on board. I can't think of her name at the moment, but like because there was some
Dr.
sort of
Thresher.
relationship. Yeah, Thresher.
Yeah, Wesley's
between
mom.
Thresher and Jean-Luc Picard. There's a familiarity because they had some sort of relationship at some point.
Right. Yeah.
But even then, there's not. She still refers to him in a respectful manner, even in private. And the fact that you would have a character who is lower ranking, come up to him and just say, "Hey, what's going on, JL?" It's like that's not. Yeah, just. And it's someone from like obviously like the Starfleet isn't real, but it is a military organization, and the fact that you would have a subordinate refer to a superior officer in such a manner is fucking bullshit. I'm the anger in my face just.
I know, and I knew Robert was gonna flip his lid, not just because he's a Star Trek fan, but also because he served. He's a former military man, specifically the Navy, which Starfleet is modeled after, and so
Yeah, it's especially Space Navy. That's what Starfleet is.
Yeah, it's a Navy in space.
Oh.
And so so I know Robert would especially
JL.
Yeah. But I mean, I haven't even gone to like some of the deeper plots of the show because it also does the character of Data dirty too.
Well, the other thing that like you told me that really fucking infuriated me too was the fact of just the language that's used in a Star Trek episode,
Oh yeah.
which is, listen, I'm all, if you want to put this in like a different type of show, like, or you want to use, obviously like in the Navy, as in the Navy, there's a lot of, bad language that's used, duh. But that, but it's Star Trek. Star Trek is different. Star Trek is above a lot of, kind of the foul language. It's above a lot of things, and the fact that they're just, using, that type of language in a Star Trek episode, instead, it boggles my mind.
Right. Well, like to what Robert is referring to is one of the admirals drops an F bomb on uh, Picard. Um, Picard goes to Starfleet and has a meeting with one of the admirals and requests that he be reinstated temporarily so that he can go on this mission to go find one of Data's twin daughters, even though he was an android, but for some reason he's able to. They cloned his mind from some bullshit. But anyways, he requests that that he be given a ship and a small crew, and so that he can go investigate this. And he understands that his rank of admiral, might be, to use a leftist word, problematic. So he's willing to take a demotion to captain. And the admiral spits back, like, I mean, I'm talking literally, like it's like she spit in his face. It's like, fuck, and she said, "Fucking hubris."
That is just that's fucking hubris. Let me tell you, it's like, to use that type of language in a Star Trek episode is just,
Right,
I can't
because
believe it.
right, because Star Trek is ultimately a family show. You could watch it with your mom, your dad, your little brother, little sister. Doesn't matter. Because it'll be safe. And yes, they talk about they talk about death. There's death depicted or violence, but it's kind of like that Star Trek violence where it's like very little consequence. No one like actually like really bleeds that much. And everything is like so choreographed. It's like it's laughable. But
And
once you start dropping f
here's
bombs, it's no longer family friendly.
no, um, the and yeah, okay, I know it's like it's on like the was it like the CBS app or whatever, but still, it's that's not Star Trek. Even on the Star Trek movies, like the new ones, they don't even use that type of language.
Or the spiciest that it gets is shit.
Yeah, that was it. Like a couple of times, maybe.
Right. Yeah, they really kept it like that PG-13 rating. Because I mean, even when it was PG-13, they were allowed one F bomb. That was that's
Yeah,
why
they didn't show that.
that's why in X-Men First Class, Wolverine is the only one to use the F word in that entire movie.
And that makes sense because it's
Yeah, for
Wolverine.
the character, yes, for the character, it makes
Yeah.
sense.
The here's the other problem I have about like this new version of Star Trek too, right? With Discovery and now with I mean, I haven't seen an episode of Picard, but I've been hearing a lot of, from what you said and what I've heard from other people,
Mm-hmm.
is that another podcast that I listened to, they were talking about Star Trek, and one of the fans was like, don't you hate how like political that the new Star Trek has gotten, and obviously it's like, well, Star Trek's always been political. It's like, okay, here's the difference, right? In Gene Roddenberry's vision, he has a very like positive outlook towards what the future could bring. Like there's no people have gone above dealing with racial race relations, money is not really much consequence. People have what they need, and it's about exploring and discovering new worlds and kind of and
Right.
all that type
It's
of
about
stuff,
the
right?
betterment of humanity.
Right.
It's about and also
It's
and
very
also the
humanistic.
individual being the best version of themselves that they can be.
Right. It's a very humanistic show, if you
Right.
will, but it's most positive that it can be. And
Optimistic and hopeful is probably the right words
right
to describe it.
now, obviously, I don't feel like that's a true vision, but I like that that's where it's so different from every other type of like science fiction or like futuristic type show.
Hmm.
Um, but this and yeah, obviously it did have like some of the political topics, or obviously with the original series, there's a lot to do with the kind of dealing with the kind of like the Russian
Yeah, the
and
Cold War.
American relations. Right, but you have elements of episodes that kind of deal with those type of topics and deal with it in kind of like a positive manner. You have like the episode where you have uh, a planet where they go to, and you have people that have like black and white faces that are fighting people with white with black faces, and it's kind of showing the ridiculousness of racial or skin color tension. Uh, all in that for me, like though that's Star Trek. That doesn't bother me in the slightest. The stuff that's going on in this wave of Star Trek with like Picard and STD is just this woke. Let me shove this wokeness down your throat, and if you don't like it, you're a bigot, you're terrible, and it's throwing it right in your face,
Right. I mean,
and that's never what Gene Roddenberry envisioned.
right. I don't remember. I don't know where it started from, but uh, there is this idea of cultural vandalism, and this is exactly what it is. This shows like SCD or Picard or even movies like the recent Star Wars trilogy under Disney. It's cultural vandalism. They're
Yeah,
tearing. It's like what they're trying to do with like the old Confederate statues. They're tearing them down. That's what they're doing. Yeah, that's what they're doing with our heroes. Luke Skywalker has to be torn down. Han Solo has to be torn down. Jean-Luc Picard has to be torn down. Spock has to be torn down, and he has to have an adopted human sister who teaches him how to be Spock. That's basically what happens in Star Trek Discovery. Um,
oh no, I didn't need to know that. Oh God.
yeah,
Oh.
I'm sorry. Yeah, but so it's cultural vandalism. It's the scene in Tim Burton's Batman where Joker comes into the museum and his henchmen are like spray painting like all the art. That's what it is. That's what they're
Yeah.
doing.
Look, we're being original. We're being cool. We're
Aren't we
ripping
being
down.
so radical and like progressive? It's like you know what, we're gonna Luke Skywalker, the most hopeful optimistic character in the entire universe. We're gonna make him into a grumpy old man, and then we're gonna have a girl beat him in a lightsaber duel.
Oh.
So yeah, we're gonna have a girl who had no training at all, who just picked up a lightsaber like a couple of days ago, beat a Jedi master.
Just. Uh.
Yeah.
So for me, here's how I see it. Like the recent three films of Star Wars don't exist to me anymore. Those
Yeah.
those are dead. Those are dead.
Like what sequel
Um,
trilogy?
the um, the idea of Star Trek Discovery. and Picard, that's not Star Trek. That's some other horseshit that can be tossed in the garbage. I'll just go back and there's a lot of Star Trek to watch that still it has a lot of rewatchability. I'll watch
Yeah,
that.
I mean, well, my favorite, my absolutely favorite Trek show is Deep Space Nine.
I keep hearing that's one I haven't watched, and I keep hearing that everyone tells me that. Oh yeah, you gotta watch Deep Space Nine. That's the one to watch.
Seriously, watch it, and I mean, it's the first two seasons are a little bit hard to watch because it's still trying to fit within the mold of TNG, which was still kind of going on at the time.
Right.
But yeah, once you get past those two seasons, it's really great. It's absolutely my favorite Star Trek show. Captain Benjamin Sisko is my favorite captain. I mean, I know that's heresy to say, but he's my favorite captain because he's the fucking
Wow, that's high praise.
yes, exactly. He's the fucking man because he's played by Avery Brooks, and he just brings this level of coolness and badassery to the role of a Starfleet captain. It's just like, yeah, this is the Starfleet captain I've always wanted, you know?
I mean, I mean, I'll always have in my heart like I'm a Captain Kirk guy.
Oh, dude, after you watch Deep Space Nine, you're gonna be a Cisco guy.
Okay. Oh man. I all right.
You're gonna be a Cisco guy.
I won't challenge you right now. I'll watch it. And I'll check out for myself.
All right, you do that, all right. But you know, once you get to season, I think season 4, maybe season 4, you're gonna be a Cisco guy.
Okay. All right.
All right, there you are, folks. I'm laying the gauntlet down right now. All right.
Who do you think's a better captain, Picard or Kirk? And it's like
I know.
you're like, nope,
Like false binary,
Cisco.
Cisco. False binary, Cisco.
Nerd.
Yeah. Actually, that's what I'm like, actually trying to do for myself because a lot of times people will get you into like these false binaries, and so you just have to come up with a different choice. So they say
I, you know, we are definitely contrarians in that sense, Andy.
yes, right? So they say who's the better captain, Kirk or Picard? Yeah, Cisco, hands down.
It's like
No,
there was other like Star Trek series after those two, right?
yeah, exactly, right? Like yeah, there's like Janeway, there's Archer. I mean, those are really only like I guess those are the canon captains. But then I guess Pike.
Now, see, I would really like to see something like, and I know Star Trek Discovery, I guess, tried to do something like that after like kind of the first season was kind of a bland.
Yeah, turd.
I'd like to see something more with like Captain Pike and talking about like his story a little bit.
Yeah, yeah.
So obviously we get him in the pilot of Star Trek: The Original Series, but we don't really know too much about his character. Uh, so I think like you could do something with him, um, and the thing is like Star Trek, you have an unlimited amount of stuff that you can deal with
Mm-hmm.
in that series. You can there's so many different characters. There's so many different things you can do. And actually, if you really think, and if there was something to do with left to do with like the next generation, they never finished kind of dealing with the whole Q situation either. Um, they never really
Oh
finished that
yeah, because the
finished
series
development.
finale of Next Generation was just a continuance of the first episode, which Q puts humanity on trial. and Picard is tasked with defending humanity to whether or not it'll be allowed to allowed to continue existing.
I see. I think that would be that could be like a really good like film, or like you can,
Or like a short
like I
mini
said,
series to kind of
yeah.
wade into. Yeah, I agree.
So lots of lots of stuff you can do with it,
Right. Yeah, I know.
but
Like we're
not
so
don't do
yeah,
this
really tired
shit.
of
Like,
everyone is sick of the like the prequel or the reboot or the reimagining. It's just advance the story. Advance the story. And I mean, to Enterprise's credit, that's the series that came after Voyager, which was a prequel, and it kind of talked about or kind of went into the
it was
or
kind of like
eventually.
the beginning of Starfleet and like
Yeah,
how it
and
all
how
got
the
started.
formation of the Federation happened, and I still enjoyed it, even though it was a prequel, and it was a very early 2000s TV show. But I still enjoyed it, and I still appreciated it, and it was starting to get its legs about the third season, but they canceled it shortly after the fourth one.
That's unfortunate. See, that I think that would be like one that you should like they should try to bring back and work on.
But yeah, I'd rather see like an advancing of the story, as opposed to like continuously going back and having to like, and then like them retconning stuff or just rewriting things and you know.
Right, right. Yeah, I know what you're saying. I Yeah, I would like to see
But
more of an
in
in-depth.
terms of like re exploring those characters from Enterprise, I wouldn't mind it. Like because what is
Yeah,
it? Captain Archer. Captain Archer's ultimate destiny is being elected Federation president.
right,
So
right.
So that would have been cool to see, like his transition from Starfleet captain to one of the first presidents of the Federation.
Don't watch Picard. That's been what we're telling you.
Very much. I'll watch it for you, and I'll let you know how. I mean, there's rumors that after these initial third episodes, like it gets really worse because they take out all of like the next gen references. At least not until I don't know because I don't even know when freaking Riker and Troy are supposed to make their appearance, but yeah, but I heard like um, because of the licensing agreement, uh, or they don't want to keep paying for like the next gen license, like everything like next gen is going to be taken out from here on. The next like 7 episodes.
She
Yeah, so I'll let you know. Yeah,
you mean
I'll save all the aneurysm inducing news for the stream, so you can just so your head explodes. We need the views. We need the views. All right. All right. Let's get into the First Blood review and wrap this bitch up.
do it.
All right. Yes. First Blood came out in 1982 and stars uh, again Sylvester Stallone.
You were gonna say Steven Seagal.
I know, or I was gonna say I don't know. I was like yeah, a lot of S's floating around in there, and also yeah, uh, Sylvester Stallone, Brian Dennehy. I really
A
appreciate
very young,
Brian Dennehy though.
huh?
I really appreciate Brian Dennehy as an actor.
Yeah, I
It's
do
like
too.
yeah, 'cause sometimes like you don't even think he's in it, but then all of a sudden he shows up and like puts in like the right amount of like Irish swag, and it's like Ah, this guy. Okay, the synopsis for First Blood. Vietnam veteran and drifter John J. Rambo wanders into a small Washington town in search of an old friend, but is met with with intolerance and brutality by the local sheriff, Will Teasel. Yeah, Will Teasel. When Teasel and his deputies restrain and shave Rambo, he flashes back to his time as a prisoner of war and unleashes his fury on the officers. He narrowly escapes the manhunt, but it will take his former commander to save the hunters from the hunted.
Yeah, this movie is kind of fucked up in a lot of ways because we're kind of just dropped in on like Rambo's journey, right? And a lot of he's been out of Vietnam for like 6 or 7 years.
Mm-hmm.
He has a hard time,
Readjusting.
adapt readjusting to civilian life, and so he goes on this journey to try and kind of reconnect with the one thing that he had, which was like his war buddies, and there's only really one that had survived the war beside him, and so he goes to like where he knew he lived, and it turns out that he died from cancer from the effects of Agent Orange.
Mm-hmm.
And the funny thing is too, like when he does go and like he is like looking for him, like the family of that soldier, they kind of even like look at him with a lot of disdain too, which was I thought was kind of like, all right, that's kind of a odd thing.
Mm.
Uh, and so he's just kind of like, well, like has nowhere to go, so he starts to head towards this town, looking for something to eat, probably a place to rest. And he's approached by the sheriff, who is, and he's like, hey, where are you headed to? Is there anything I can help you with? Seems like he's a friendly guy. It's like, oh yeah, I'm heading up north a little bit, and I'm looking for something to eat and all this stuff. And the guy, the sheriff, all of a sudden starts to become kind of a freaking jerk off,
Mm-hmm.
and takes him out of town. It's like, yeah, we don't want your kind around here. And to me, it also is a little bit representative of how, I mean, he may have not, I don't think he knew that he was a Vietnam veteran, but that's kind of like how a lot of the Vietnam vets were treated. It's just kind of like, yeah, we don't want your kind around here, kind of spit on you, you spit on them, all this stuff. And he's like, wow, that guy was kind of a jerk. So he's like, well, fuck him. I'm gonna go back to what I was trying to do and go back to town to get something to eat instead of walking 30 miles, north to Portland or wherever the sheriff was trying to send him to. And it was just a bunch of unreasonable, unruly assholery from the local police department of that town. Uh, and that's kind of how the whole movie gets started. It's like, what? Why? Why were they acting like such dickheads to him? There was no. He didn't. He wasn't causing any crimes. He wasn't like sleeping under a park bench or doing anything unruly.
Yeah, he wasn't like he
He
wasn't urinating on Main Street while downing like a bottle of of whiskey. He's just passing through, and then just because he was wearing like a military style jacket with the American flag on it, he's like saying like, oh, people might take it the wrong way, you wearing that jacket and that flag. It's like, well, motherfucker, you got a flag on your jacket too. Um, but yeah, like the response from the sheriff, Will Teasel, Brian Dennehy's character, is just completely overblown and exaggerated. Uh, but like to your point of saying like how that it was kind of like the reality for a lot of Vietnam vets to be dealt with like kind of with hostility. And it kind of and then we kind of get a glimpse of that at the end when Rambo kind of has kind of breaks down and he's like talking about experiences coming back and how like at the airport like people like would be spitting on him and calling him baby killer and things like that. Um,
Got it.
I'm jumping ahead. So
Yeah.
let's reel it back. Yeah, the response to Rambo just walking through town was completely overblown, and like and the treatment that he got at the hands of the deputies was even worse. It was, it was funny because like even though they're in the Northwest, they acted like they're in the South with like the boys and the it's like come on boy and did it and so on and so forth.
Right. And it's the one yeah, they all really treated him like shit, and it's like a lot of the stuff that like they were trying to do is like that's even like one of the like the deputies who one of the younger deputies is like, I don't think this is such a good idea.
Right? Yeah, he
The
was
guy who was
like,
playing
yeah, he was trying to
David
like show
Caruso.
like some sort of deference because he was like when they find the dog tags on him, it's like, oh, he used to be a soldier, so he's trying to show somewhat of or treat him with somewhat deference, as opposed to his more experienced colleagues where they're just like being like complete assholes. Like it's like get the hose ready and like they hose him down and he's like trying to get fit, and like like one of the deputies like threatens to beat him with a baton, and it's like this is completely ridiculous. Like, and so it kind of sets me up to think like, oh, man, I'm because I know what's gonna happen. It's like, oh, I'm glad you die. you know,
It's the funny thing, yeah, because but it wasn't Rambo that killed him. It was his own, him being a dumbass.
right? Because that one deputy, who was in the helicopter and he was like taking shot, and he was taking shots at Rambo, and he undid his safety harness inside the helicopter, and even the pilot was telling him, because like in the location that they found him in, like it was one of those places where like the air couldn't really recirculate very well, and so the pilot was having a hard time controlling or steadying the helicopter, and and Rambo just kind of like trying to defend himself. He throws a rock at the helicopter, cracks the windshield, startles the pilot, and the pilot moves the stick in a direction, and it causes the deputy to fall out and die.
But that's the only person that dies.
Right,
All the Rambo never killed anybody.
right. It's
He
not like
injured
he
them.
took the rock and threw it at that deputy's head and like cracked it and caused him to die, and that's why he fell out. No, you know, it was all more or less in defense. Uh, Even though it could be it could Rambo's actions could be construed as resisting arrest or escape from authority or custody. Um, but yeah, none of the actions that preceded the bloodbath to come was Rambo's fault.
Yeah, it was it just felt as like, man, I felt bad for Rambo the entire film. Like it's you kind of root for him. It's like, honestly, it's like I want him to kill all of these people for the way that they treated him.
Mm-hmm.
But he's even in his like, obviously he's having his flashbacks to Vietnam.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but even in that, like, he retains a level of restraint. Yeah, he defends himself, but he doesn't, and he does want revenge, but he doesn't kill anybody.
Right, and yeah, I might have miscategorized Bloodbath. He does hurt people. Like there was like that scene with the deputies, and he traps, he sets up all those booby traps, and like one where it's like, it's
Oh, the
not.
one that hit Dick. Oh god,
Yeah,
that was
oh
awful.
yeah, yeah. So
Woo!
I mean, there was blood, but he didn't kill anybody, and even though like later on when his former uh, commanding officer comes to try and help him. Uh, he's describing Rambo as this killing machine, and he's like saying, and he's like telling the sheriff and all of like the state troopers and things like that. It's like, don't take it too far because he's like my boy, he'll kill you. Consider yourself lucky that consider yourself in a very in a very small group of people that that he allowed you to live.
Right, and it's like he keeps his colonel keeps warning him. It's like, yeah, I don't think you want to. Yeah, yeah, like, you're lucky. Don't push this guy any further. It's like, and they all like kind of just, yeah, whatever.
So, yeah, what do you know? It's like, well, I just, I only trained the guy to be a killing machine. Like, what? Yeah, what do I know? But like, yeah, I mean, uh, I think
Sheer
one of the
fucking
greatest
hubris.
lines, one of the greatest lines is from, Brian Dennehy's character, the sheriff. It's like, it's like, Colonel, are you telling me that 200 men against your guy is a no-win situation? That's exactly what I'm saying.
Yeah. um. Oh yeah, get that one booby trap that guy's dick though. It's like, oh, it. Oh,
Yeah, it's
that
one of
was
those
nasty. That
traps
was
where it's
great.
like it's almost like a bear trap, but made out of wood, and you just like the deputy just comes and steps in it. It's like right on his nuts.
Oh, it was great.
Nice. Yeah, but again, Rambo showed like so much restraint, but but that sheriff was just out for blood for like no reason at all.
Yeah, that's the thing. That to me is the great mystery. Is like what had happened in that. Either there's two things. Either he's just a fucking crazy person, and he never killed that deputy. He never killed that sheriff either. He
Hmm.
hurt him, but he didn't kill him.
Right, yeah, and then
Uh,
yeah,
uh
and even in the final like face off, he doesn't even kill him. Like he wounds him, but he doesn't kill the sheriff.
Right. But then it makes me wonder, it's like what had happened in that town previously that made that sheriff act that way towards strangers in the town? Or two, what made him like, is he or was he just an asshole that like that's the thing, is like, cuz you don't it seems very odd that he would just be like, we don't like your kind around here, you know, kind of, and just shovel them out of town.
Yeah, no, it's the response is completely disproportionate to the actions seemingly committed by Rambo. All I did was walk through
Yeah.
town, and I don't know, like maybe maybe the sheriff lost his son, in Vietnam. So he might have some feelings towards like soldiers, or and again, like you said, maybe there was this one time where like this vagrant person or drifter was coming through town, and he caused like this huge commotion.
Like I said, it's possible we're not going to get the prequel to Rambo and figure out what happened in that town.
Right? Yeah, no, that. Yeah, it should be called Teasel. You know?
But yeah, yeah.
like Teasel first offense.
Yeah, exactly. To be honest, I might watch that movie though.
Right? Because it's like what happened to this guy that he treats passersby or drifters with such contempt and hostility.
But see, they would have had to do it back in the '80s when you have like that, Brian Dennehy as Teasel. Because I
Yeah,
don't think you'd have.
you had to have had Brian Denny reprise the role.
Yeah, I don't think anyone else could pull that guy's role off.
Right? Because again, Brian Dennehy has like this Irish swag where it's like it's like you kind of
Yeah.
like when you have like that kind of stereotypical, almost like that Boston Irish kind of grumpy old man. It's like that's you pictured Brian Dennehy.
But I would love a Teasel. It's,
Teasel, first offense. We don't like your kind. He's like, sir, you're causing us disturbance. Like, fuck you, pig. Like close up into the
yeah,
eyes.
yeah. Maybe Teasel was like a nice sheriff and then like there was the incident, and then he
Right.
became a jerk off.
Yeah. Which is hilarious
So,
because he seemed.
no, but see, it would have been like that would have been a kind of a dark buddy cop movie with like with Teasel and his other deputy like Gift or Gaft or
The
whatever
one
his
that
name was
dies,
that
right? Because yeah, the one that dies.
yeah,
But
the
it's
one that
funny because
died.
he like in the initial scenes where we meet him, he seems like a very amiable person. He says hello and good morning to everybody that he sees.
No,
And people seem to
he loves
people seem to love him.
yeah, he loves the townsfolk. He does a good job as sheriff, and everyone knows him and likes him.
Mm-hmm.
But outsiders, ugh.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. I would love the backstory of what the fuck happened.
Yeah, Will Teasel, sheriff.
And kind of similar to Rocky. A lot of the cinematic archaeology that comes with Rambo
Mm-hmm.
comes from like a lot of the later iterations of Rambo. Because I
Mm-hmm.
know like the whole like the second one is where they there was an NES game of Rambo, but it was mainly based off of the second one.
Right, the second movie. Yeah, that's when he goes back to Vietnam to rescue POWs. And then the third one is when he goes and goes to Afghanistan to help, not the Russians, but I think, ooh, he might be actually helping. He might be actually sent there to help the Taliban.
See, and now I have never watched any of the Rambo films up until obviously we did the uh, review of this. I watched this one twice.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't seen I haven't seen any of the sequels, so I don't really know too much about like
Mm-hmm.
what happens further. So I don't know
Right.
what
Well,
the
yeah, I
third one.
remember watching the second one. I don't remember the third one except for uh, a little bit of the beginning part. And yeah, I think Rambo is sent to Afghanistan. Because again, this is like towards the, kind of towards the end of the Cold War, like almost the collapse of Russia. But I think he's sent there
I,
to help freedom fighters fight off the Russians.
I see. I see. Okay.
Yeah, I could be wrong, but you know what? I got the internet right here.
That's what it's there for.
Like, that's what that's for.
Was it Rambo Last Blood just came out, and that was like was that the fourth or fifth one?
That was the fifth one because before there's just a Rambo movie where he basically um, lives in Cambodia or something, and some like I don't know, some tourists get lost and he's hired to go rescue them.
I see.
Yeah. Yeah. The third one is when uh, Colonel Troutman convinces Rambo to go on a training mission in Afghanistan, and then the colonel is captured by a Russian colonel. and is tortured, and he attempts a rescue mission.
I see. Okay.
Yeah, so it is. Yeah, so he's probably going to go help train Afghan freedom fighters, or as we know them, the Taliban.
Yep. Oh man. Uh, what were there any other like scenes that really like stood out to you, or like um I mean, obviously like the last scene is pretty powerful with the that impassioned uh kind of breakdown that Rambo
Yeah.
has with Troutman.
Hmm.
That was pretty powerful.
Right. Yeah. Where it's just like talking about his experience back, talking about I think we should just get to the end part because it is the most powerful scene in the movie. Um, he's just describing his experiences, after coming back from Nam, and talking about how he was just trained killer. He was put in charge of like millions of dollars worth of equipment, but now he can't even get a job parking cars. Um, I think in a lot of ways it's there's a little bit I think there's a little bit of echo nowadays, especially with our with veterans coming back from combat, and having trouble like readjusting and suffering from PTSD, or just or coming back just wounded, not just sometimes not just physically but also like spirit, like having that spiritual wound. um so there's a lot of similarities to Rambo's character and kind of what's happening in real life nowadays.
Yeah, it's unlike the Vietnam vets, um at least a lot of our veterans, at least with at least with face value, they're given a lot more respect, and I
Hmm.
think there is a lot more um, notice paid to, like, they're not just calling them like, oh, fucking pussies. It's like, there's a lot more of a recognition of the effects of like PTSD and all that. Um, I think as far as like treatment goes, like the way that the like the VA and all that stuff, they're still not really able to do a lot. They either don't do a lot, or it's not enough. Um, but yeah, the way the Vietnam vets were treated, like, it was just awful. And I think this may have been like a similar story to a lot, and maybe not like in the exactly how like Rambo's story turned out, like where he's knocking off sheriffs in the woods, but kind of like just the attitude that's paid towards them. It's like, you know, yeah, I don't want this, guy in my town. It's like, a lot of them ended up becoming like drifters, and not really knowing what to do and not able to readjust
Hmm.
to civilian life.
Right. I mean, a little bit of personal history. My dad, he was in Vietnam. Um, he was in the Korean Marines, and I mean, I don't think he got it as bad as the American soldiers, but but the government did screw over a lot of people. Like the payment that the soldiers were supposed to receive, they talked them into deferring it, or just kind of like putting off the payments, so that they could rebuild, or make improvements to Korea, the nation. And so, but it wasn't until recently that those veterans, remembered, or I don't know how it happened, but they sued, and now every one of those soldiers is getting back pay from when they fought in Vietnam. So my dad now is getting some checks. that were denied him at the time.
Damn, that's fucked up.
Yeah. So yeah, it's just a little personal history for my own family experience of Vietnam. But my dad, yeah, even though he was in Vietnam, he never really talks about it, and I never really pushed him on the issue because, whether or not he has bad or good memories, you know, I felt like if he wanted me to know these things, he would have told me.
Yeah, that's it's because a friend of the podcast and a friend of mine, Daryl, he's a Vietnam vet,
Hmm.
and there's some stuff that he'll tell me about like what happened over there,
Hmm.
but he's like, yeah, I just not gonna talk about it. And it's like, yeah, hey, no worries, man. Like I understand,
Right.
and he even said like, yeah, like he said, there are a few things that there are certain smells that if I smell it, it does kind of it brings me back there, and I have to like kind of like check myself.
Hmm.
He says like one of the ones that he said that really like bugs him is the smell of just disgusting bathrooms, like when it smells like shit.
Mm.
That brings him right back to like being in Vietnam. Like it was like I'm there right now. It's kind
Oh
of
wow.
and I mean now I mean he has things that he has like that helps him to like deal with it, and like he's a jovial guy,
Yeah, yeah,
and
yeah. Absolutely.
but like he says yeah, like but it brings back a lot of those memories of being over there,
Hmm.
and it's just unpleasant.
Right.
And even like one of another one of my close friends that I was in the Navy with, he was um, over in like the Middle East a lot, and
Hmm.
he even said like there's certain like sounds or certain things that just kind of like bring him back. Like he's right back in the battle. He's like, and he has to like just sometimes he'll call me and it's like, hey man, like I just need to talk to someone just to kind of like because I have like something just triggered everything. I just gotta like talk to somebody, just kind of relax for a second. And it's like,
Hmm.
and it's like, yeah, no, of course, man. Whatever you need. And it's crazy that it's like that. And so I think in a lot of sense, it's like what everything that was done to Rambo and everything that he was feeling. It's like um, and these guys who clearly were not, military veterans, um, really had no idea and like they just didn't give a shit.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I don't have anything else really to say. You? Final thoughts?
No, no, that's pretty much all I had to say about it. Rambo is an awesome film. Like I'm glad
Hmm.
I finally watched it.
Yeah,
It only took 30 plus years.
yeah, yeah. And I'm glad I watched it again, especially now as an adult because as a child, I just thought that, oh yeah, action film, shoot 'em up, blah blah blah. But it's like there's real depth in this movie, and yeah, and I mean, now I'm kind of curious to wonder because this movie was based off a book called by the same title. So I'm wondering what the book is like.
Maybe we do get the Will Teasel. It's like
Yeah,
another
right.
Will
Yeah,
Teasel.
maybe we'll get the backstory in there. Uh, yeah. Okay. Let's give our ratings and let's call it a night.
What's your rating on this one?
I'm gonna give this one a 4.
You're giving this one a 4?
I'm giving this one a 4.
Yeah, I'd have to. I'm gonna go with a 4 as well on this one.
Hmm.
Like I said, if you're looking for great action, this is a film for you.
Hmm.
If you're looking for Actually, and this, even though it's mainly an action film, there's actually a lot of good acting in it as well.
Right. I think,
Because
yeah, and even from Stallone, I thought,
Stallone, this may have been one of his best acted films, just because you really believe the torture that Rambo is going through.
right, yeah, because like at the end when he's having that breakdown, with Colonel Troutman, and then kind of Colonel Troutman kind of hugs him, and he's like, you could hear him like sobbing, and like he does like that kind of like stutters, like like when someone is crying. I'm just like, wow, that was a great touch. Like the depth of his pain is felt. It was believable.
Yeah, yeah, it was really great acting from Stallone on this one.
Absolutely. Couldn't agree more.
And of course, you get Brian Dennehy, so you can't you
Yeah,
can't go
Brian
wrong with
Dennehy.
that
Anything
either.
with Brian Dennehy is awesome. It's not perfect, but it's awesome.
Oh yeah, um, but yeah, this is a good film. I can't think of anyone like me who's never seen Rambo before, but if you haven't, go watch it.
Yes, Jerks recommended. Rambo First Blood. Check it out. All right, that'll bring us to the end of the show for tonight. I hope you enjoyed it. I mean, I sure did. I know Robert did. Don't forget to join us every Tuesday night at 8 p.m. ish Pacific Standard Time. If Robert ever stops being a diva and shows up on time. Don't forget to check out the library of other shows that we have. The Circle of Jerks main podcast, Nocturnal Transmissions, of course, and Robert's gaming show, Up by Up Down. Don't forget to follow us on our various social media accounts: Twitter at PodcastCOJ, Instagram at Circle of Jerks Podcast, and the newest social media that we're on is LetterboxD, and our handle is PodcastCOJ on there. Yeah, and that'll do it for us tonight. Again, thank you for joining us. I hope you had a good time, and we'll see you next week. Don't do anything I would.